I used to think I had the perfect family. My wife Sophia, our 15-year-old daughter Amanda, and our beautiful suburban home where we had built our dreams. We had worked hard to create a substantial trust fund for Amanda to attend any college she wanted. But lately, Sophia had been taking more business trips, staying out later, and growing distant. Nothing could have prepared me for coming home to find Sophia gone along with all of Amanda's college money. What shocked me even more was my daughter's response. She simply said, "Do not worry, Dad. I took care of everything." If you are watching this right now, drop a comment letting me know where you are from, and hit that subscribe button to hear how this unexpected journey changed our lives forever. Sophia and I met during our sophomore year at University of Michigan. I was studying business management while she pursued communications. We connected at a campus coffee shop where I accidentally spilled my latte on her marketing textbook. What started as an embarrassed apology turned into a 4-hour conversation about our dreams and ambitions. By graduation, we were engaged, and within a year married. Those early years were not easy. We moved to Chicago, where I landed an entry-level position at a financial consulting firm. Sophia worked in public relations for a small agency. Our apartment was tiny, our furniture secondhand, and our budget impossibly tight. When Sophia discovered she was pregnant in our second year of marriage, panic and joy collided. How would we afford a baby when we could barely afford our rent? The moment I held Amanda in my arms, I made a silent promise. She would never worry about money the way we did. She would have opportunities we never had. Every sacrifice would be worth it for her future. As Amanda grew, so did our careers. By her 5th birthday, we had moved to a modest house in the suburbs. When she turned 10, we opened her college trust fund. Every bonus tax return and salary increase contributed to that account. We lived below our means, taking minimal vacations and driving older cars. The numbers grew steadily, reaching nearly $350,000 by the time Amanda entered high school. It would be enough for any university, even the Ivy Leagues, if she aimed for them. Our neighborhood friends saw us as the ideal family. Amanda excelled in school, particularly in mathematics and computer science. Sophia had risen to director level at a prestigious PR firm. I had made senior consultant status with a comfortable salary. On weekends, we hosted barbecues, attended Amanda's academic competitions, and planned for a bright future. Everything seemed perfect. 6 months ago, I noticed subtle changes in Sophia. She bought new clothes that seemed too young, too flashy for her corporate position. She joined an expensive gym across town rather than the community center where we had family membership. Her phone suddenly acquired a password, and she would step away to take calls in private. Working late again became a regular question as Sophia arrived home well after dinner time, often smelling of wine. This new client is demanding she would explain. The whole team is putting in overtime. Weekend conferences multiplied. Designer luggage replaced her old travel bag. Texts would make her smile secretively. I told myself I was being paranoid. Sophia had worked hard for her success. She deserved nice things. The distance between us was just a phase, the result of busy schedules and Amanda's increasingly independent teenage life. When doubts crept in, I pushed them away. 20 years of marriage had earned her my trust. I was being insecure, nothing more. April 15th was a Tuesday. I remember because our tax filing had been completed the day before. I came home early, having finished a client presentation ahead of schedule. The house felt different the moment I walked in. Too quiet too, still despite nothing visibly out of place in the living room or kitchen. "Sophia," I called out, setting down my briefcase. Silence answered me. I checked my watch. 3:30 in the afternoon. She should be at work. Amanda would not be home from school for another hour. Yet something felt wrong. I climbed the stairs to our bedroom. The door was partially open. When I pushed it wider, the first thing I noticed was the open closet. Sophia's side was half empty. Her favorite dresses, shoes, and handbags gone. The suitcase we had purchased for our 20th anniversary trip to Hawaii was missing. On the bed lay a single sheet of paper. The note was brief, clinical. "Jonah, I cannot do this anymore. I have been unhappy for years and need to start a new life. Please do not try to contact me. I will have my lawyer reach out regarding divorce proceedings. Sophia. No apology. No explanation. No mention of Amanda. My hands shook as I reread those cold words. I called Sophia immediately. Straight to voicemail. I sent text after text. No response. With growing dread, I logged into our joint bank account on my phone. The savings account showed a transfer of $20,000 to Sophia's personal account that morning. Still reeling, I checked Amanda's trust fund account. Zero balance. A withdrawal of the entire amount had been processed at 9:15 that morning. My knees buckled. I collapsed onto the bed, clutching the statement. $350,000. Our daughter's future. Gone. As I sat there paralyzed, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo appeared on my screen. Sophia smiling broadly, her arm around Xavier Coleman. My stomach lurched. Xavier was not just any man. He had been my colleague, someone I had brought home for dinner, introduced to my family, trusted as a friend. The text message read, "Thought you should know. They left for the airport this morning." I recognized the number. It belonged to Xavier's soon-to-be ex-wife. She had found out too. When Amanda arrived home from school, I was still sitting on the edge of the bed, surrounded by bank statements and unanswered calls to Sophia's phone. "Dad, what is wrong?" Amanda stood in the doorway, backpack still slung over her shoulder. How could I tell my 15-year-old daughter that her mother had abandoned us, that the money saved for her education was gone, that our entire life had been a lie? "It is your mom," I finally managed. "She is gone." I expected tears, confusion, panic. Instead, Amanda set down her backpack carefully and sat beside me. "I know," she said quietly. "You know." "What do you mean, you know?" "She has been acting weird for months, taking calls in the bathroom, texting at all hours. I saw her with him once at the mall when I was with my friends. They did not see me. I stared at my daughter, this suddenly grown person who had noticed what I had refused to see. "There is more," I said, my voice cracking. "She took money. A lot of money. Your college fund. It is all gone." For the first time, Amanda looked shaken, but she squared her shoulders quickly. "We will figure it out, Dad. We still have each other." That night, we ordered pizza neither of us could eat. We sat in the living room watching mindless television, trying to process our new reality. The house felt cavernous with just the two of us, haunted by the absence of the woman who had been the center of our family universe. I did not sleep, replaying 2 decades of memories, wondering where I had gone wrong, how I had missed the signs, what I could have done differently. The week following Sophia's disappearance unraveled like a nightmare in slow motion. I took emergency leave from work, unable to focus on spreadsheets and client meetings, while my personal life imploded. Sleep evaded me completely. I would lie awake until the early hours, then drift into restless dozes filled with confused dreams where Sophia returned only to vanish again when I reached for her. My days became a blur of phone calls. First to a divorce attorney, a stern woman named Janet, who listened to my stammered explanation with practiced sympathy. Next to our financial advisor, who confirmed what I already knew. The trust fund had been legally accessible to both Sophia and myself as trustees. She had broken moral obligations, but not legal ones. The money was gone. We should file for divorce immediately and request emergency orders regarding the marital assets, Janet advised. But regarding the trust fund, recovering it will be complicated, especially if she has left the country. "Will we need to sell the house?" I asked, staring at the family photos I still had not found the strength to take down. "Let us wait and see. But prepare yourself for significant changes to your financial situation." Shame washed over me in relentless waves. I had failed as a husband, unable to keep my wife happy or even notice her deception. I had failed as a father, unable to protect the future I had promised my daughter. Each passing day brought fresh humiliation. Neighbors who had seen Sophia loading suitcases into a taxi. Colleagues who had suspected her affair with Xavier long before I had. Through it all, Amanda displayed a strength that astonished me. She continued attending school, maintaining her grades, despite the whispers and pitying glances. At home, she took over cooking simple meals and making sure laundry got done. When I apologized for the burden she was carrying, she shrugged. We both need clean clothes and food, Dad. It is not a big deal. At night, I would sometimes hear her on the phone speaking in hushed tones from her bedroom. When I asked who she was talking to, she would say just friends or school stuff. I did not press. She needed her privacy, her own support system during this crisis. What troubled me more was her surprising lack of anger. While I cycled between crushing sadness and blinding rage toward Sophia, Amanda remained composed, too composed. She went through her routines with mechanical efficiency, occasionally pausing to ensure I was eating or reminding me of necessary tasks. It was as though our roles had reversed, with her becoming the caretaker. 1 week after Sophia's departure, Amanda sat down opposite me at the dinner table. She had made spaghetti one of the few meals in her limited culinary repertoire. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, setting aside her barely touched plate, "about what I looked up from my own food, which I had been pushing around aimlessly. About Mom. About the money. About what happens next." I sighed. "I know I need to be stronger for you. The lawyer says we can claim abandonment in the divorce. We might need to downsize, but we will get through this." Amanda leaned forward. "Do not worry, Dad. I took care of everything." The statement, delivered with such calm certainty, sent a chill through me. "What do you mean?" She twirled her fork, choosing her words carefully. "I noticed Mom changing months ago, not just the obvious stuff. She started asking questions about my trust fund. How much was in it? When I could access it. She never cared about those details before." My stomach tightened. "Why did you not tell me? Would you have believed me?" Her question carried no accusation, just a simple truth that pierced my heart. "So what exactly did you take care of?" I asked. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "Insurance. That is all I can say right now. Just trust me, okay? Give it a couple of days." "Amanda, if you did something illegal—" "I did not," she interrupted. "But Mom did. That is the difference." She refused to explain further, despite my persistent questions. That night, I lay awake pondering what my 15-year-old could possibly have done to provide insurance against her mother's betrayal. Computer science was her best subject. Had she hacked into accounts, obtained information illegally? The possibilities terrified me almost as much as Sophia's abandonment. The next day brought a distraught call from Sophia's sister, Melody. "Is it true?" she demanded. Sophia left with Xavier Coleman and took Amanda's college money. News traveled fast. "Yes," I confirmed wearily. "Have you heard from her?" "No. Nothing. This is not like her, Jonah. Something must be wrong. The only thing wrong is that she chose another man and stole from her own daughter," I said, bitterness seeping through. Melody fell silent, then whispered, "I am so sorry. Tell Amanda I love her." After hanging up, I began a task I had been avoiding. I went through Sophia's home office, looking for clues about how long this betrayal had been brewing. In her desk drawer, I found hotel receipts dating back 8 months, credit card statements showing jewelry purchases I had never seen her wear, a second phone prepaid with just one number in the contacts list: Xavier's. The affair had not been a recent development. It had been going on for the better part of a year, perhaps longer. Each discovery was a fresh wound, a new realization of how thoroughly I had been deceived. Throughout that day and the next, I jumped at every phone notification, wondering if it would reveal what Amanda had cryptically referred to. She went to school, as usual, came home, completed her homework, and behaved as though nothing extraordinary was pending. The waiting created an almost unbearable tension in the house. The call came at 2:16 in the morning, 2 days after Amanda's mysterious pronouncement. I jolted awake to Sophia's name, flashing on my phone screen. "Where is she?" Sophia demanded before I could even speak. Her voice was shrill, hysterical. Who I asked, though, I knew exactly who she meant. "Amanda, put her on the phone right now." I sat up, switching on the bedside lamp. "It is 2 in the morning, she is asleep. And you have no right to demand anything after what you did. Do not play games with me, Jonah. That little snake. She thinks she is so clever. Put her on the phone now." The raw fury in Sophia's voice sent me into protective mode. "Do not call our daughter names. You abandoned her and stole her future. You do not get to be angry. Illegal access. That is what she did. Computer manipulation. I will press charges. I struggled to make sense of her rage. What are you talking about? She ruined everything, Sophia screamed. That money was supposed to be our fresh start. Now Xavier is threatening to leave, saying, I lied to him about how much we would have. It is all falling apart because of her. The call ended abruptly with Sophia still screaming about ruination and betrayal. I sat stunned in the dim light, piecing together fragments of her tirade. When I looked up, Amanda stood in my doorway, her expression calm but resolute. I guess Mom figured it out, she said. What exactly did Mom figure out? I asked Amanda as we sat at the kitchen table the next morning. I had managed a few hours of fitful sleep after Sophia's hysterical call, but woke with urgent questions for my daughter. Amanda pushed her cereal around in its bowl. Remember when you taught me about financial responsibility last year? How you showed me all the accounts and explained how the trust fund worked? I nodded. It had been an educational exercise preparing her for eventual control of her own finances. Well, I paid attention. More than you realize. She set down her spoon. When Mom started acting weird, I got worried. So I started watching everything. Checking the accounts. Monitoring login activity. You can do that. She gave me a look that teenagers reserve for particularly clueless adults. Yes, Dad. It is not hard. Especially when you use the same passwords for everything. My concern grew. Amanda, did you access accounts illegally? No. You made me an authorized user on most accounts for educational purposes, remember? And for the trust fund, I just watched the activity logs. 3 months ago, Mom started checking the balance almost daily. She never cared before. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. That still does not explain what you did or why Sophia called screaming about illegal access. Amanda took a deep breath. 8 weeks ago, I found a burner phone Mom left in her gym bag. She had texts with Xavier planning everything. They were going to take all the money and disappear together, making a new start in Bali. That is when I knew I had to protect myself. She reached for her laptop, opened it, and turned it to face me. On the screen was a banking website I did not recognize. After I found those texts, I went to the bank and spoke with the manager. I told him I was concerned about unusual activity on my trust fund. He verified that I was a beneficiary and explained my options, which were limited since I am a minor. But there was one thing I could legally do: create a sub-account that would be triggered by specific activities. She pointed to the screen, which showed a balance of $280,000. Is that? I stared in disbelief. Most of my trust fund. Yes. When Mom accessed the main account, she saw the full balance of $350,000. But she did not know I had set up an automatic transfer protocol. If anyone attempted to withdraw more than $20,000, the system would immediately transfer 80% of the funds to this protected sub-account. I gaped at my daughter. So she only got $70,000. Which is still a lot of money, Amanda acknowledged. But not enough for the life she and Xavier planned. But how is this legal? Because the bank manager helped set it up properly. Since I am the beneficiary, I have certain rights, even as a minor. The transfer protocol was created as a legitimate protective measure with proper documentation. The sub-account is still technically part of the trust, just with enhanced security features. She gave a small shrug. All perfectly legal. And the evidence, Sophia mentioned something about computer manipulation. Amanda opened another folder on her laptop. This is what really has Mom freaked out. For months, I have been documenting everything. Screenshots of her text messages with Xavier when she left her phone unattended. Recordings of their phone conversations when she thought I was not home. Photos I took of them together. Bank records showing her unusual account access. The folder contained dozens of files meticulously dated and cataloged. My 15-year-old daughter had built a detailed case against her own mother. I sent her and Xavier copies of everything this morning. That is why she called screaming. I stared at Amanda, seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time. Not as my little girl, but as an astute, resourceful young woman who had protected herself when the adults in her life had failed to do so. We need to call the lawyer, I said. That afternoon, Janet, the divorce attorney, reviewed Amanda's evidence with widening eyes. "This changes everything," she said, scrolling through the documented timeline of Sophia's affair and financial planning. "We now have clear evidence of not just adultery but attempted theft and conspiracy. The court will view this very favorably for your divorce settlement." "What about the trust fund money she did manage to take?" I asked. "With this evidence, we can file for an emergency freezing of assets. If she and this Xavier person have not spent it yet, we can likely recover most of it." "And will Amanda be in any trouble for the documentation methods?" Janet looked at Amanda with something approaching admiration. "Nothing she did appears illegal. Unorthodox, certainly, but not criminal. She did not hack accounts or record conversations to which she was not a party. She documented suspicious behavior affecting her own financial interests." Relief flooded through me, followed by a surge of pride in my daughter's ingenuity. Events moved quickly after that. Janet filed for emergency orders freezing Sophia and Xavier's assets. Police became involved regarding the attempted theft. Xavier's company fired him when the scandal broke. Apparently, corporate espionage was suspected as he had accessed proprietary information before disappearing. 3 days after our meeting with Janet, the doorbell rang during dinner. Amanda peered through the peephole, then stepped back. "It is Mom," she said quietly, "and Xavier." My heart hammered as I opened the door. Sophia looked nothing like the polished, confident woman who had left us. Her hair was disheveled, her designer clothes wrinkled. Xavier stood slightly behind her, his expression thunderous. "We need to talk," Sophia said, pushing past me into the foyer. "You need to leave," I countered. "Any communication should go through our lawyers." "Cut the crap," Jonah Xavier snapped. "Your kid has put us in an impossible position. We are here to negotiate." Amanda appeared in the hallway, smartphone in hand. "I am recording this conversation," she announced calmly. "Just to be clear." Sophia laughed bitterly. "Of course you are. Always the clever one." "What do you want, Mom?" Amanda asked. "The rest of the money. The courts could take years. We are willing to sign whatever you want. Divorce papers, custody agreements, anything. Just unfreeze the accounts and give us the rest of the funds." I felt a flare of anger. "The money you tried to steal from your own daughter. That money, it is not stealing when you are entitled to half of marital assets." Xavier interjected, sounding like he was reciting a hastily researched legal point. "A trust fund is not a marital asset," Amanda stated flatly, "and you both knew that. I have the texts where you specifically discuss how to access it illegally." Sophia's composure cracked. "You had no right to go through my private messages, and you had no right to steal my future," Amanda countered. "I am your mother. I gave up my prime years for you. Stuck in this boring suburban life, when I could have been traveling, building my career without constraints." The raw resentment in Sophia's voice hung in the air. Xavier shifted uncomfortably. "How long?" I asked quietly. "How long has this been going on?" Sophia looked away. Xavier cleared his throat. "Look, this is getting us nowhere. We need a practical solution." "Here is a practical solution," Amanda said, holding up her phone. "I just texted the police. They should be here in about 5 minutes. You are both in violation of the temporary restraining order." Panic flashed across Sophia's face. "You would not do that to your own mother." "You left me," Amanda replied simply. "And then you tried to take my future. What did you think would happen?" Xavier grabbed Sophia's arm. "We need to go. Now. This is not over." Sophia hissed as Xavier pulled her toward the door. As they hurried down the front walk, a police car turned onto our streetlights flashing. I watched my wife of 20 years break into a run, fleeing with her lover from the consequences of her choices. "Are you okay?" I asked Amanda, placing an arm around her shoulders. She nodded, though I felt her trembling slightly. "I will be." The protective order against Sophia became permanent following her unauthorized visit to our home. The courts moved surprisingly quickly once presented with Amanda's extensive evidence. Within 3 months, we had recovered most of the stolen funds, minus about $15,000 Sophia and Xavier had already spent on first-class flights and luxury accommodations. Amanda's trust fund was not only secured, but placed under new legal protections that would prevent any similar attempts in the future. The house, however, proved too painful to keep. Too many memories haunted its rooms, both the happy ones that now felt false and the painful ones that were all too real. "What do you think of this one?" I asked Amanda, as we toured a modest 3-bedroom townhouse closer to my office. It was our 5th property viewing that weekend. She ran her hand along the kitchen counter. "It feels right. Smaller but not cramped. A fresh start." We moved in 2 weeks later, donating much of our old furniture and buying new pieces together. Building our new home became a healing project for both of us. Amanda chose paint colors and helped arrange the living room. I assembled furniture and hung pictures. None of them included Sophia. The first few therapy sessions were awkward. I had never been comfortable discussing feelings, and Amanda maintained her stoic facade. Dr. Larson, a family therapist specializing in abandonment trauma, gently guided us toward painful truths. "I keep wondering what I did wrong," I admitted during our 3rd session. "What was missing in our marriage that drove her to this?" "People make choices based on their own internal struggles," Dr. Larson replied. "Sophia's actions reflect her issues, not your failures." "But I should have seen it coming," I insisted. Amanda, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Dad-Mom was really good at hiding things. She fooled both of us for a long time." Those words, offered as comfort from my child to me, broke something open in my chest. For the first time since Sophia left, I cried without restraint. Amanda moved to sit beside me, her hand on my shoulder. The role reversal should have embarrassed me, but instead, it felt like a necessary shift in our relationship. We were no longer father and dependent child, but 2 people navigating loss together. Thanksgiving arrived with a painful awareness of our smaller table. Rather than attempt traditional celebrations that would only highlight Sophia's absence, we created new rituals. Amanda and I volunteered at a local shelter in the morning, then returned home to cook a simple meal together. We invited my brother Paul and his family to join us, filling our new home with laughter that felt genuine for the first time in months. Christmas followed with similar adjustments. We selected a smaller tree, hung only the ornaments that held special meaning for Amanda and me, and focused on experiences rather than elaborate gifts. The holiday passed without the emotional collapse I had feared. Through it all, Amanda continued to excel academically. Her computer programming teacher nominated her for a prestigious summer internship with a software development company. When the acceptance letter arrived, she allowed herself a rare moment of unbridled excitement. "This could lead to college scholarships," she explained, eyes bright with possibility. "Beyond just the trust fund money." The divorce settlement, finalized 6 months after Sophia's departure, heavily favored our side due to the evidence Amanda had gathered. Sophia received none of the joint assets beyond her personal belongings, which had already been removed. The judge was particularly harsh regarding her attempt to take the trust fund, noting in the final judgment that such actions demonstrate a profound betrayal of parental responsibility. Xavier faced separate legal troubles. His former employer discovered he had attempted to sell proprietary information to competitors before fleeing. Criminal charges were filed. The last we heard, he and Sophia had separated, their dream of a luxurious new life together, crumbling under the weight of legal consequences and mutual blame. I took no pleasure in their downfall. The woman I had loved for 20 years was effectively dead to me, replaced by a stranger whose actions I could not comprehend. The grief of that realization was in some ways harder than if she had actually died. Death would have left our shared history intact. Her betrayal poisoned even our happiest memories. As spring turned to summer, our new routine solidified. I received an unexpected promotion at work, perhaps partly due to sympathy from upper management who had heard about my situation. The additional income helped secure our financial footing. Amanda spent weekdays at her internship, thriving in the challenging environment. We established weekend traditions that had never existed in our former life. Saturday morning bike rides along the lakefront. Sunday afternoon movies with ridiculous amounts of popcorn. Small pleasures that gradually accumulated into a different but fulfilling life. New friends entered our circle, people with no history with Sophia, no awkward questions or pitying glances. Through a work function, I met Sarah, a marketing director and single mother to a 12-year-old son. Our first conversations centered around the challenges of solo parenting, creating an easy rapport built on shared experience. When Sarah and her son Tyler joined us for dinner one evening, I felt a nervous anticipation I had not experienced in years. "Your pasta is way better than my mom's," Tyler announced after his first bite, earning a mock glare from Sarah. "Thanks for the support, traitor," she laughed. Amanda, who had been reserved with previous dinner guests, engaged easily with both of them. Later, after they left, she gave me a knowing look. "She is nice, Dad. I like her. We are just friends," I protested automatically. "Sure." Amanda rolled her eyes in classic teenage fashion. "But maybe that could change. It would be okay, you know. If it did." Her permission, freely given, lifted a weight I had not realized I was carrying. As the 1-year anniversary of Sophia's departure approached, I found myself reflecting on how profoundly our lives had changed. The initial devastation had given way to something I had not expected: genuine peace. The constant strain of Sophia's secret unhappiness, which had affected our home in ways I had not recognized until it was gone, had lifted. Amanda prepared to begin her junior year of high school, now eyeing computer science programs at several universities. Her trust fund was intact, her future secure, thanks to her own foresight and courage. "You saved yourself," I told her one evening as we sat on our small patio. "And you saved me too." She considered this, turning her glass of lemonade in her hands. "I just did what needed to be done." "That is exactly what strength looks like," I replied. "Seeing what needs to be done and doing it even when it is hard." "I learned that from you," she said quietly. "All those years of working and saving for my future. You always did what needed to be done." Her words healed something in me that I thought would remain forever broken. The failure I had felt as a father unable to protect her from her mother's betrayal eased under the weight of her forgiveness and respect. We had learned hard truths together, that sometimes people you love choose to become someone else, someone unrecognizable. That legal contracts and marriage vows sometimes mean less than the character of the person making them. That appearances can hide painful realities. But we had also discovered unexpected strength, both in ourselves and in each other. The family we now formed was smaller but more honest, built on a foundation of shared survival rather than false perfection. Sometimes the most valuable lessons come wrapped in the most painful packages. In losing what I thought was essential, I found what truly mattered. In watching my child rise to an unimaginable challenge, I glimpsed the remarkable adult she was becoming. We would carry scars from Sophia's betrayal, but they would no longer define us. The future stretched before us, uncertain, but full of possibility. Have you ever had to rebuild your life after someone you trusted completely betrayed you? How did you find the strength to move forward? Share your story in the comments below. If this account of our journey touched you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories of resilience in the face of unexpected challenges. Remember that sometimes the greatest strength emerges from our most vulnerable moments. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to face whatever challenges life brings your way.